This is USVI News, your Virgin Islands connection.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for USVI News. I'm Emily Matson. We begin today with sad news affecting the VI community, including the USVI News family. Well-known Virgin Islander Natafa Romain has died at the young age of 44. Our USVI News' Ali Born-Vanek has more on the legacy he leaves behind.
I'm standing here outside the old TV2 building because it's the only place I could think of to pay tribute to a man whose heart, soul, and spirit will always be here. This is the man who opened this door for me 15 years ago so that I had a chance to be a reporter. He did this for me and so many others. And if it wasn't reporting, Natafa Romain gave so many of us a chance to go after our biggest dreams. It was hard to find someone who didn't know Natafa. But if you didn't, you probably had seen him on his hit award-winning TV show, USVI Ambassadors. Natafa spent years traveling the world and interviewing outstanding Virgin Islanders who were repping our home on a national and international stage. These are some of the biggest names in sports, music, Hollywood, and tech. But before USVI Ambassadors, he was the news director at TV2, a man who worked tirelessly and moved up the ranks. He was a mentor to so many of us. But if you ask Natafa, we were simply put, his TV2 family. Outside of news and TV shows, Natafa was the guy you went to for video production. His work has been featured on just about every network, cable channel, and even Times Square in New York City. I could go on the incredible human being Natafa Romain was and forever will be. But I can't sign off without sharing two of the most important things in Natafa, and that was his devotion to God and his family. We'll have more on Natafa next week on his impact to the entire U.S. Virgin Islands. But for now, I need a moment to grieve like so many of us do. But boss, I promise, your story will be, and forever is, outstanding. In St. Thomas, Ali Born-Vanek, USVI News.
As you could tell from that report, Natafa was very near and dear to Ali. While I know it wasn't easy for her to do that report on her dear friend and mentor, we know that's what he would have wanted her to do. Our thoughts and prayers go out to everyone who knew and loved him. A welcome sight in St. Croix this week, as for the first time in more than a year and a half, a cruise ship carrying thousands of passengers made a stop in Frederiksted. The Celebrity Equinox visited St. Croix Wednesday, marking the return of cruise ships to St. Croix for the first time since February of last year, of course, because of the COVID-19 pandemic. It brought more than 2,500 passengers to the island to explore for the day. The visitors were welcomed with much celebration, moco jumbies, masqueraders, and of course, island music. The Celebrity Equinox and its passengers were just in town for the day. All passengers were required to be vaccinated fully, along with the ship's staff. The VI Department of Tourism was happy to welcome the tourists with several safety measures in place as they toured the island. This is the first cruise stop in St. Croix since the start of the pandemic. The Celebrity Edge has stopped in St. Thomas a few times already since the CDC allowed cruising again this year. The Equinox is going to call again in September in St. Croix, as well as a Royal Caribbean cruise ship, too. Now to the latest on positive COVID-19 cases here in the Virgin Islands. 279 people are currently testing positive for coronavirus throughout the territory. There are again fewer cases than we saw just yesterday. And there's fewer cases than there have been, but cases are still very high right now, with 86 active cases in St. Croix, 187 in St. Thomas, and 6 in St. John. According to the VI Department of Health, all the people who are currently hospitalized because of COVID have not been fully vaccinated. So the COVID-19 pandemic rages on, and it's growing. In some parts of the country, the number of confirmed cases is multiplying, and some hospitals have been forced to set up makeshift facilities to deal with the influx of seriously ill patients. The president and health officials insist the two best ways to defend against the virus are vaccines and masks.
This is what medical experts across the country are desperate to avoid. A second field hospital going up at the University of Mississippi Medical Center in Jackson to handle the onslaught of desperately ill COVID patients.
We're actually really quite concerned, and the curves seem to be continuing to go up, and we don't think we've seen the peak of this yet.
Children like Donovan Evans, too young to get vaccinated, now in the fight for his life against COVID.
You don't know if he's going to wake up out of his sleep, or you don't know what's going to happen.
The uncertainty spreading as quickly as the virus across many states.
We're seeing more COVID-19 positive patients in our emergency departments, urgent care centers, and hospitals than at any time in the pandemic.
As healthcare experts plead with people to roll up their sleeves.
Please get vaccinated.
Their calls echoed at the White House.
Do it now. It could save your life, and it could save the lives of those you love.
Wednesday, the administration laying out a plan for booster shots for those already fully vaccinated, announcing a new policy to require nursing home workers to be vaccinated, and vowing to take on governors blocking mask mandates in schools.
We're not going to sit by as governors try to block and intimidate educators protecting our children.
As additional county school boards in Florida voting late last night to defy their governor and require masks for students. The battle just beginning on a new front in the nation's war against COVID.
The early vaccination campaign in the U.S. may have prevented more than 100,000 deaths from COVID-19. Researchers created models that estimated the number of COVID-19 deaths that would have happened had there not been any vaccinations. The study authors say the average state experienced 5 fewer deaths from COVID per 10,000 adult residents by the second week of May. They say that comes out to be nearly 140,000 deaths and 3 million cases that were prevented as a result of the vaccinations. New York State saw the largest reduction in number of averted deaths, and Hawaii had the smallest reduction according to the study. The experts also say the economic value of the lives saved is estimated to be between $625 billion and $1.4 trillion. The TSA, in the meantime, is extending its mask mandate until next year. The public transit masking requirement was supposed to expire next month. And while some air travel employees are celebrating the move, they're also concerned about enforcing the rule among unruly passengers.
The TSA extending its masking mandate until next year. Passengers must wear masks on planes, trains, buses, and all other public transit through the holiday season. The requirement was scheduled to expire on September 13th and will now run through January 18th.
We're very disappointed about the place that we're in with this pandemic, but we really appreciate the backing and enforcement from the federal government.
The Association of Flight Attendants, CWA, which represents nearly 50,000 flight attendants and 17 airlines, supports the decision. The extension comes after the Federal Aviation Administration reported more than 2,000 incidents of passengers violating the federal mask mandate so far this year. Flight attendants have been on the front lines of enforcing the requirement.
We want to take you to New Orleans or to Fort Lauderdale or San Francisco, not to jail. If you interfere with a crew member's duties and put the rest of the plane in jeopardy or assault a crew member, you're facing $35,000 in fines for each incident and up to 20 years in prison.
The Association of Flight Attendants is among several industry groups demanding stricter legal penalties for unruly passengers.
Many of these incidents also involve alcohol. And when people start getting put in jail for their actions on the planes that are putting everyone in jeopardy, there's going to be some serious sobering up.